And he took a guy that he had never met, and I walk in his door and I said, so I've already signed up for my level 1. I want to be a coach. Eventually I want to own a gym. And he's like, whoa, pump the brakes, bro. We got to make sure you even know what the hell you're doing. So, I walked into his gym and started training, I think late 2009, early 2010. And then, I took my level 1, and I believe it was May of 2010.
So how do you go from taking a level 1 to owning the gym? Because because again, I think for Mark and I, this whole process for us has been a lot of luck and happen chance and serendipity, whatever you want to call it. But it sounds like you had a game plan in mind from the get-go. Sort of. I mean, an outline. I mean, I was a graphic designer, and Mark was working at Fidelity, and here we are.
Yeah.
This was not on the path originally, but it's something that we fell in love with along the way, and it sounds like you were a little bit different. You at least had a general outline, like these are the steps I want to take. I don't know what it looks like in between. So how do you go from just, all right, I got my level 1 to, hey, now I own this gym that this other guy started?
Well, I had a job, and
sure.
a job that I loved, and I still love it. And so I was at zero intention on ever leaving that job. But any fireman will tell you that they're always kind of looking for some side hustle.
Sure.
They're always looking for...
You work really hard, but then you also got a lot of downtime.
Yeah, just the schedule, the way it works out. You've got a lot of full days off.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I'll start my own business. That way I can make my own schedule. I work when I want to. This was all ignorance. Now
it's still easy on the gym.
Yeah. And so I thought, all firemen either own a lawn cutting business or car detailing or something. And so I just I had my eye out for it, and I thought I enjoyed this working out thing, and I was enjoying CrossFit. So I said, what the hell? I'll start out coaching, and then I'll own my own gym.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jared Bass with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Triumph Every Day. We talk about the journeys that shaped the lives of our guests and how it brought them to where they are today. And today we have, like I said before, one of the OGs of CrossFit in the area, Justin Campbell. He owns CrossFit On the River. They are over, what is it actually that part of town called?
Cleves.
It is Cleves.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all the west side.
It is on the west side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I'm from Coleraine. I used to play down in Miami Wetwater Fields all the time, so we head out that way quite a bit.
Yeah, it's just down the street from those parks there.
Yeah. So, speaking of being OG, where and when did you start back in the day with CrossFit? Because like Mark's just said before we hopped on here, so this is location number 3 for you.
Yeah.
So where did it all start?
I started doing CrossFit. It actually started with a phone call from my brother. It was right around 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
He called me. He lived in Union City, and CrossFit One World. I don't even think it was CrossFit at the time, but it was. You heard of Freddie Camacho?
Yeah.
China Cho.
Yep.
He lived about a block from their gym.
Wow.
And so he was doing jiu-jitsu there. He called me. And he's like, have you ever heard of CrossFit? I said, nope, never heard of it. Don't know what it is. He's like, well, get online. I want you to Google nasty girls. I was like, all right, I'm listening.
I don't know if I need to Google nasty girls.
I'm one step ahead of you.
Yeah.
And so it was the video of them doing their workout.
Yeah, Annie Sakamoto and Nicole Carroll. Yep.
And so he kind of walked me through the website. He said, they've got this website. It's totally free.
Wow.
They do all these, they post a workout a day. And he's like, they have this list on there. The original website had a list of all the people in the world that did CrossFit that had a muscle up.
Wow.
So you could click on there.
Wow.
I actually didn't know that. That's
there was, I mean, it was
that website
way
was
back.
terrible, by the way. It was so
It stayed
bad.
pretty beta for a long time.
Yeah, it was bad.
But there was a list, and you can get on there and see all the people. And I remember because it was like one page.
Wow.
It was like, I got to muscle up. So
that was always like the gold standard.
Yep, that was it. And so that's how far back.
Yeah.
So I got on there, started checking it out, and I thought it was stupid. I thought,
sure,
like, there's no way you can do 18 back squats, 6 sets of 3 like we did today, and that be your whole workout. Yeah. Because I come from the Marine Corps where if you don't PT for an hour and a half, you're not PTing.
Yeah.
Were you serving at the time?
No.
Okay.
I got out in 2003.
Okay.
And, so I started kind of looking on the website.
Sure.
And then I had surgery on my knee in 2008, and the doctor basically woke me up and said, you can't ever run again. Don't ever, like, that's out of your.
How old were you?
I was 29.
29, and he said you can never run
he said,
again.
you're done running.
And you're kind of like, all right.
Well, that's all I knew how to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, it was the Marine Corps. You ran. That was what you did.
Yeah.
That was it. And so I took up swimming, and the only place close to my house that had swimming was the Mercy Healthplex.
Oh yeah.
So started going to the Healthplex. They had a halfway decent pool, but it's a cardiac rehab facility, and so it's all old folks.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I was the youngest person there by about 20 years. Me and another firefighter friend of mine. So we just started kind of trying these workouts, just dipping our toe in the water, doing 100 burpee pull-ups or
G.I. Jane or
10 by 500 on the rower.
Yep.
We didn't have a clue what we were doing, but
it was fun.
Yeah, we started to kind of pick up.
No one did in 2007, if everyone's being honest.
Yeah, that's very true.
I remember looking at that main site, and there being those days of like 3 3 3 3 3 push jerk, and I'm like,
all right, what else?
Go back a day. You just find like, I haven't done that one.
That's exactly what we did. We'd cherry pick.
Sure.
Couldn't find anything. Oh, let's do 100 burpee pull-ups.
Yep.
Or whatever. And, I mean, we were doing. I remember we would do these workouts. I think it's Eva with the running and box jumps and wall balls.
Kelly?
Yeah.
5 rounds of. Yep. It's got Karen inside of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we would hop on the treadmill. Sure. You'd hop on the treadmill. But you didn't want these old folks jumping on the treadmill.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't want to start it up every round. So you'd crank it to the speed you wanted, and then you'd drape jump ropes over the handles.
Oh, nice.
And then
nice.
You just hop off, run to the other room.
Yeah.
Do the box jumps, do the wall balls, do whatever. Come running back. You get a lot of dirty looks, but
sure.
But that's how we did it for.
So that's like you said, like 2008, 2009. Or, no,
yeah,
you said probably 2008-ish then, because you started your gym 2009.
Well, the gym was started in 2009.
Okay.
By Sean.
And that was in Indiana, correct?
Yeah, in Lawrenceburg, kind of in between Lawrenceburg and Aurora. But so 2008 was really when we started really doing it, cherry picking, kind of just dabbling in it.
How was sorry to jump in? How was your knee feeling during that process of like, hey, the doctor says don't run ever again, and you're like, okay, I'll start swimming, and then all of a sudden again, I don't know what the timing's off there, but you find CrossFit and you start, as you're saying, cherry picking the workouts. What's the knee doing? Is it feeling better, or are you running? Or
it was a year from the time that he told me that till I ran 100 feet.
Oh, okay, wow.
And then
what did you do to it, if you don't mind?
I tore it in high school.
Tore it, okay.
And had a surgery then, and then just a follow-up surgery 10 years after that.
Got it.
But I didn't run for over a year.
Oh, wow.
But then I started doing this stuff, and I felt stronger. I mean, I went from swimming, that was it, to actually, doing what I thought was a squat, doing what I thought was what they were programming, and then started running a little bit, and it actually, I was like, this isn't bad. It feels pretty good, and so we kind of dabbled in it for 2008, and then 2009, I started really looking into it, and I discovered that like you could be a coach. You could make a little money on the side and coach CrossFit.
Are you a firefighter at the time?
Yeah, I got hired in 2004.
Wow. Yeah.
So you have your full-time job. I want to get into that a little bit later for sure. So then you eventually end up becoming a coach at, was it always on the river?
Yeah.
It was always on the river. Real quick on that, I remember starting CrossFit and living on Milton Street and over the Rhine and finding CrossFit OTR and like, yes! And then it was like, not OTR.
Yep.
Just kidding.
Not OTR.
That name, it literally was, the website used to be CrossFit OTR.
Yeah.
And that name was started by somebody who had no idea what OTR was.
Right.
He,
Well, if you're in the Lawrenceburg area, it has nothing to do with where you're at.
in his defense, he was on the river.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't know that OTR was like a,
Shoot, I want to hold on to that name.
Yeah.
It's,
There you go.
hold on to that one in your back pocket. So how long before, so you kind of get into it, do you start going to the gym, the CrossFit OTR, and then end up becoming a coach?
I had signed up for my level 1 before I'd ever set foot in a CrossFit gym. I'd been doing CrossFit at my version of CrossFit at the Healthplex, and then signed up for the level 1. I said, maybe I should get certified, or I should get some training before I go to this, because my level 1 was in May of 2010. So I started late.
Is that a Rogue or
No, it was Maximus
Maximum?
in
Okay,
Lexington.
cool. Yeah.
So late 2009, I got on, started looking for gyms, and really the only gyms in the game at that time were OTR, Cincinnati Strength.
Yep.
I don't think it was Cincinnati Strength
It was
at the
CrossFit
time.
Nasty at the time.
Yeah.
I think CrossFit Nasty,
And then Cincinnati CrossFit.
Yeah, Rangers Gym.
Rangers.
I think that was it.
So I don't know if NKY was started then.
Yeah, they were around
You're around, yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, you're talking about 4 gyms
in the city,
in like
the
a
region.
20-mile radius.
Yeah.
So just goes to show how far everything has come. So you sign up and then you decide like, hey, and again to your credit, thinking like, wow, I should probably get some actual training before I just go dive into this head first.
Yeah. I felt like I in the back of my mind, I always knew we were just kind of making it up as we went along.
Sure.
And I thought, man, I better get somebody to show me what I'm doing, or at least tell me I'm not doing it right, or I'm doing it right, or whatever.
What was that experience like going to the L1 and maybe getting the eyes open to doing the movements and
it was
beat
huge.
up with the PVC pipe?
But to Sean's credit, and he got his affiliation in 2009 for OTR.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the 6 or 8 months before I went to the level 1, like, he prepared me very well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was.
I've always, I've been out to, I haven't been to their new gyms. Pretty unbelievable if you've seen photos. But I mean, their old gym. I've done a couple competitions there, and everything's just well run. You can tell the place is clean. You can tell he's serious about what he does.
Yeah.
I know Sean just a little bit. I've met him a couple times, had some conversations with him. Always very professional, and seems like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, certainly.
Which, you can't be in the game since 2009 and not know what you're doing.
Right.
But definitely has got his eyes set in the right direction, I think, for sure.
And he took a guy that he had never met, and I walk in his door and I said, so I've already signed up for my level 1. I want to be a coach. Eventually I want to own a gym. And he's like, whoa, pump the brakes, bro. We got to make sure you even know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
So, I walked into his gym and started training, I think late 2009, early 2010. And then, I took my level 1, and I believe it was May of 2010.
So how do you go from taking a level 1 to owning the gym? Because because again, I think for Mark and I, this whole process for us has been a lot of luck and happen chance and serendipity, whatever you want to call it. But it sounds like you had a game plan in mind from the get-go.
Sort of.
I mean, an outline. I mean,
Yeah.
I was a graphic designer, and Mark was working at Fidelity, and here we are.
Yeah.
You know, this was not on the path originally, but it's something that we fell in love with along the way. And it sounds like you were a little bit different. You at least had a general outline, like these are the steps I want to take. I don't know what it looks like in between. So how do you go from just all right, I got my level 1 to hey, now I own this gym that this other guy started?
Well, I had a job, and a job that I loved, and I still love it, and so I was at zero intention on ever leaving that job. But any fireman will tell you that they're always kind of looking for some side hustle.
Sure.
They're always looking for.
You work really hard, but then you also got a lot of downtime.
Yeah, just the schedule, the way it works out. You've got a lot of full days off.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I'll start my own business.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can make my own schedule. I work when I want to. This was all ignorance. Now
Still easy on the gym.
yeah. And so I thought, all firemen either own a lawn cutting business or car detailing or something. And so I was just I had my eye out for it, and I thought I enjoyed this working out thing, and I was enjoying CrossFit. So I said, what the hell? I'll start out coaching, and then I'll own my own gym.
Yeah.
It's super simple.
Yeah, it's super simple.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So did Sean end up moving to Bloomington, and you just kind of?
Yeah, he, again, to his credit or fault or whatever, he bumped up that timeline.
Okay.
So I had talked to him. I just mentioned to him that I was eventually interested, maybe a year or two down the road, in having my own gym. And I got certified, and I don't even think the ink was dry on my certification. And he called me and he said, hey, we're moving back to Bloomington. We're going to open our own gym there. Do you want to buy OTR? And I was like, yeah, I guess. So
this is what we call trial by fire. I'm going to contact Sean, by the way. We're going to have him on the podcast, I think. And
it'd be great.
Yeah.
So at the time of that conversation, I hadn't coached a single class in my life.
Wow.
And so he called me up, and we basically had kind of a gentleman's agreement that I would buy it. And so I started teaching some of the on-ramp classes with them, and then teaching some of the regular classes alongside him and Jenna. And then I started kind of picking up more classes, and then eventually, I think it was around September, they pieced out to. That was when, as soon as my business loan came through to buy the gym and equipment, he left.
They're
and
gone.
I took over. Actually, there was like a downtime when I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
They had gone, and they left me with a rig, some flooring, kettlebells, and a handful of wall balls. And that was about 3 weeks. That was all I had to program with. No rowers, no bars, no.
Again, trial by fire. I mean, but again, there's those limitations can be good in a sense. I think Mark and I have had these conversations about how had we opened up a gym in 2011, something like that, where it's just like you could just open a door and just like flooding of people coming in, like it would almost be detrimental because you just had that immediate success. And I'm not talking badly about anyone who did that. I think a lot of it's just great timing, but I don't think we would be where we are today, if we were in that same boat. It's the same thing. If you just got handed if Sean was just like, hey man, just pay me back whenever, it would probably be a different story for you in the long run. I think there's something to be said about having to have those couple weeks where you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I would rather have gone through all of that just to kind of keep my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where was was location number? Where was the actual first one at?
It was in the back of a lighter factory.
That's the one that really Alex cool. and I went to a couple times. Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah, that with the huge army net, and you had the flag.
Huge flag.
So I still have that.
Yeah, he does. That thing's awesome.
That place, we had one solid wall, and then the cami netting was one wall, the flag was another wall, and there was no fourth wall.
Yep.
And it was just that was their loading dock.
Yep.
So we'd
What
be
did
in the
they do
middle.
there at that space?
They still do. They made lighters, like the the Bunsen burner lighters.
Uh-huh.
Like they're the last American made
Wow.
Bunsen burners
That's cool.
and Surelight
That's
lighters,
crazy.
and they would load up. They'd have their forklifts running,
Yeah.
and those things run on, I think it's propane.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're in the middle of class, the forklifts are loading up.
I remember.
Exactly.
I'm gonna digress for a minute. So whenever we kind of, this is about the time where we found kind of CrossFit, and I remember that one of the first workouts I did at your facility over there at OTR, and it was like a partner just Saturday kind of style workout, and I just remember and again, whenever you first start with CrossFit, every workout's very humbling kind of experience. But I remember it was like with a 45-pound weight plate carry or something like that. And I remember and it was like you had to finish the workout with a run. And I just remember coming through the door, and I had this thing like both hands, and the weight's like kind of on my neck, and I'm just like crouched over, I can't breathe. And I get through, and I like drop the weight, and I'm all like dramatic and sprawling on the ground and whatnot. And I don't know if it was you or someone said like, "You're not done, you gotta like keep going." I'm like, "Oh no." I thought life was just like over. But yeah, I just remember every time we would come over there having a really, even though like I said that was a painful workout, but always just a really good experience. And I think it was important to find gyms like yours early on to see like, wow, this is really like just a cool space. Like I said, it's not maybe ideal for a gym, but you made it work.
No, yeah.
And your community was always like just really welcoming, and I really felt like I got value every time that I would go into that space. And whether it was just from you coaching or even just some of the stuff you were doing in the warm-ups, where and again it's like not anything against where we were at the time, but at those early moments you're having these impressions, and I feel like this is hopefully where CrossFit in general is growing, that the initial impressions people are coming across with it are positive.
Right.
Because it's, to me, whenever I first started, I was like, oh, this is like just cardio all the time. I didn't know that it could be a strength program.
Right.
I didn't know that like, oh, we can do these intricate warm-ups that really address mobility issues. And I didn't know that I could receive a lot of good coaching within an hour. So yeah, I think it was very. You made a very positive impression on me from early on. So I couldn't tell that you were only a year or whatever into maybe owning a gym, or whenever we met you guys at the time. But
Yeah.
I'll never forget that workout. Like finishing it with the weight, I just like collapsed, and like the weight probably like went rolling and hit a forklift or something. It was devastating.
So you end up moving out of that location and then moving into the kind of storefront almost. So that's a completely different venue.
Yep.
Right.
Complete opposite.
How long I know you had some issues there, some pluses, some minuses.
Yeah.
Maybe you go into that a little bit.
We moved, so the lease was up, and I knew, because basically where we were, I kind of had this expectation. Where I was in Lawrenceburg, I had this expectation. It was new business owner. I thought all I have to do is be a gym owner, and people will come find me.
Yeah.
We had some shitty sign out by the side of the road, and
Come to my lighter factory and
that
work
would
out.
fall over at the slightest breeze. And you thought, well, you were kind of baffled by why it wasn't working. I mean, we had honestly 12 clients for the whole year.
Yeah.
And so just bleeding money. And then you're like, well, I'm going to give this one more shot.
Right.
And that was, I was either going to get out of the business completely, because it was like that whole year I was like, maybe this was the wrong idea.
Right.
And so I started looking for a new place, and I was even looking downtown Cincinnati.
Sure.
And some of my clients at the time came up to me, and they just basically sat me down and asked me to give it one more crack. And so
From where you're at, kind of thing. Yeah.
So we just happenstance found a place in Cleves, which is just across the border in Ohio, and it was the old Pazanka Red Wing shoe storefront. They subdivided it for me, The price was okay. It was a lot more than what we were paying, and it was like this.
But you got traffic coming through.
Yeah, and I had the mindset like it's this or nothing. Like this is either gonna work or it's gonna bury me.
Sure.
So moved in first month, no new signups. Second month, no new signups. I thought if you would have looked at all my Google searches right around then, it was how to file for bankruptcy, how to close a business, and then out of the blue, like I think it was December of 2011, on-ramp sold out. Like no idea what was happening. I just look on the website and our on-ramp completely sold out. And it was all word of mouth.
What? Just out of curiosity, what month did you move? I remember being at the grand opening. I remember going out there.
I want to say October, September, October.
So, and when you say that, I'd be willing to bet is because it's the time of year. Just from what we've gone through, where it's like, for whatever reason, December seems to be a popular month. Everyone says January, but December was historically like a good month, and I don't know. I don't really know why. Just for CrossFit, but
this was all word of mouth. This was like one or two clients that finally dragged their friends in. I think they basically said,
"It's a waterfall, man.
Hey, check this place out. It has air conditioning."
Oh wow!
And so
there you go.
Because our other place didn't, and it was miserable. But they brought them in there, sold that out, and then for the next 13 months, we sold out every on-ramp.
Wow!
And to the point where I had to start announcing we're gonna open registration in 24 hours because it would sell out in a matter of hours.
That's awesome.
And I had no explanation for it, so we went from a nosedive to kind of
like
really fast growth.
We're full, and now what?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
And we were in a very small place at the time.
And you had some issues with the neighbors and stuff that.
Well, when you're in a retail spot, one neighbor is insurance. No, they did loans, and another is a Chinese food restaurant. And you're doing wall balls. You got people running the parking lot.
Yep.
Like it was an everyday thing. There was complaints every day. So like you guys were saying, we had our growing pains with our landlord there. But we stayed there we moved. They subdivided a very large space, and we took the small space for the better part of a year. And we moved into the bigger space after a little while. And we stayed there for a little while.
Yep. And then moved down the road again to...
we got evicted.
Oh, you got evicted.
Yeah.
Eventually the complaints just got too much.
Yeah, I had originally asked to get out of the lease because we were kind of looking at some other places, and then they essentially turned me down.
So they said, you can't... That's like when you're like, you can't fire me, I quit.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. So he didn't want me to leave, and so we just kind of kept business as usual because we knew they weren't happy with us.
Sure.
We weren't gonna do anything additional to be vindictive or anything like that, but we just kind of kept doing our thing.
Right.
Eventually, I got a phone call, and he said, "You got to get out." Like the people that had taken over the small space that we originally were in, they lawyered up and booted us. And so we were kind of like you guys were. We were scrambling to find a place. And the nice place about where we were compared to Lawrenceburg, where we were in Lawrenceburg, there was a lot of people within 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the gym. There was a large number of people.
Sure.
But outside of that, there wasn't. It was 30 minutes for anybody else out. So you had to capitalize on that community, and if you didn't, you were screwed. So where we moved was there wasn't a lot of people within 5 minutes of the gym, but there's some larger communities within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You've got the whole west side, you've got Harrison, you've got Lawrenceburg, Aurora, some of Kentucky. So
you're pulling from a bigger area, but that's interesting when you say that, because last week we talked to Alexandria Brewing Company, and you talk to anybody who's small and they're starting out and they're trying to find a seat in this community, and whenever you have to move, you're essentially, even if you're moving, we moved one exit down essentially, but you're uprooting a little bit in that community and reestablishing in another one. But what we found is, what it sounds like is, especially when you had this little growth period, is people want to belong to something. Mm-hmm. They want something to call their own. That's why these little craft brewery places, why CrossFit gyms, is why artisan delis make it, is because people can go there and say, hey, this is my
gym.
This is my gym. This is my bar.
They're shareholders.
They're without them knowing it. Yeah, exactly. They're investing because they want you in their community. As long as you're doing the right thing, they're going to continue to want that. So, is it River's Edge?
Mm-hmm.
River's Edge. I would say River's Breeze, but that's the apartment complex. But River's Edge. So, and that place was an MMA gym.
Correct. Yep.
Prior to that, because I've played soccer at River's Edge before, and I remember there being an MMA place there. But so, how did you just kind of stumble upon it?
They always had a lease sign up out front, and our original conversation with the place when we were with my landlord. In our second location, we were always looking. And so I had stopped in there once, and the lady was kind enough to show me around. Rocky Boyman had his football camp there, and then they had that MMA place. So I looked around, and there was nothing available looking at it.
Yeah.
But she kept saying, this space is available. Like winking a nod.
Yeah.
This space is available. I didn't ask any background on that. Mm-hmm. But then I thought, I don't think this is going to work for us. And then I called them back after a year, and she picked up and she goes, "Hey, is this Justin?" I mean, remembered my name. I was like, "Oh wow, you guys are really looking for." So
save that guy's number.
Yeah,
I would look at him.
So we said, "Yeah, we're interested. We're losing our lease where we're at. We're interested in moving in." She's like, "Just let me know when." And they booted the MMA people, or they agreed to.
For those of you guys who haven't seen it, I would 100% check it out on Facebook or Google, where photos of the inside. It's a super interesting spot, and one of the cool things that I'm super envious of is just when they're not in use, you guys get access to the fields, right?
Yeah.
So that just adds a whole different dynamic. Like, what's it called outside? Still running.
Yeah, we still
awesome.
run.
You got sled pushes and stuff like that on the turf, and it just adds a completely different.
Yeah, a little more than what did you have, like a pull-up rig and a couple wall balls and kettlebells.
Exactly. Yeah. We went from that to the place
great.
is 70-something thousand square feet.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, and it just adds for a completely different dynamic. I know you guys have been able to do some really cool stuff with your grenade games that you do out there, just because you have access to this field, and it's contained. It's like, all right, it's raining on competition day. Doesn't matter.
Too bad.
We're
still
inside.
doing it. Yeah.
So, but I've like I said, I've always just felt welcome. I moved back home for a couple months in between waiting for a house and this and that, and you welcomed me into your doors, and it was always just, our communities I feel like are very similar.
Right.
It's like you walk in, they're like, "Hi, I'm so and so," and it's and that is something that you can't fake. That's something that you've built over the years, and those people sitting you down saying, "Hey, Justin, give it one more shot." Are probably the same people that are recruiting their friends, and they're equally as nice, and you just cannot fake that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it's been pretty cool to watch the progression of it over the years. I do want to, because it's a cool story, I want to have you tell the story about getting that flag, because if you guys haven't seen this flag, just think of the biggest flag you've ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
20 feet by 30 feet.
20 feet by 30 feet. And that wasn't like, hey, I just went down the store and picked it up,
No.
right? Like, you searched that thing out.
I'd seen somebody's video where they had a giant flag. I thought, man, if you're going to be obnoxious about something, it might as well be an obnoxiously large American flag. So I got on Craigslist, did a bunch of searching, couldn't really find anything. After I think it was about 2 years or maybe a year of looking, I found a guy in Colorado that had a picture of his house covered with this flag. So he's got a smaller house, but he draped the flag over top of his house. And I thought, all right, somehow I want that flag. And it was like $200.
Wow.
So I talked to a guy at the firehouse, and he goes, oh, I know a guy that lives out there, and he's flying back to Cincinnati
Perfect.
in the next month or so. So I sent him a check. He went to this place, and he was like, he called my buddy, and he's like, are you serious? This thing, what the hell are you going to do with this?
Don't worry about it.
I have a plan.
So he had to take an extra suitcase, and it was just the flag.
Wow.
It's a 40-pound flag.
Oh my
So he had
gosh.
to pay the fees for the extra suitcase, and flew it back, and we hung it up at the gym. I had a plan, like
It was
I
perfect.
didn't want to damage it, so I had this whole plan, like how I was going to hang it, and whoever owned it before me had like just punched a bunch of cords through the edge of it. And I was like, man, that's not what you're supposed to do.
No, at
So
least
we just clamped it to the beams up
there
top.
you go. Rivet or something like that. Put the eyelets in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story.
So what? So you have been a firefighter since 2004. What's that dynamic like? So you said naively, it's like, oh, I'll make my own hours and I'll
Right.
do what I want. What's that dynamic like being a full-time firefighter and owning a gym? Because this is all we do, and I'm exhausted,
Yeah.
like constantly.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it's like trying to do both.
They both have an effect on each other. There's days where, like, I'll like today, I got off work this morning. I've slept for about 4 hours, but then if I'm coaching today, I just got to kind of bulldog through it and go in and coach classes. And so there's a little bit of an effect on each other. And so the department, I'm sure I would have studied, or at least tried to study and tried to promote before this, but I just didn't have much time. So there's been an effect on both ends of it, but it also kind of gives me good perspective, because when on days where I'm at the gym, you kind of forget. People show up, and then that's the time that you see them, and you're kind of expecting them to be on and doing their thing, and you almost think that that you're the most important part of their day. But then you go to work, come back in, and you're tired, and you're like, you know what, there's so many other things out there, and it kind of keeps me grounded in that sense, where I can see, like, I'm reminded every third day of what it feels like to go into work, be tired,
Right.
and then still try and come in and get a workout in.
I cannot underline that anymore. That exact statement, that is, and again, we've evolved as trainers, and I've more evolved, I think, as a person because of the people here.
Right.
Because they really do show you what's actually important in life. It's like starting out in CrossFit, and you're like, well, this is my identity.
Yeah.
You kind of go into this, like, exactly what you said, this world of like, well, I'm the most important thing here, and it's like I literally cringe at the things I've done as a trainer, and the way I've probably treated people along the way, and it's like this is the opposite. Yeah. We are.
They're the most important part of our day.
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Exactly. Like I can't again put an exclamation point behind that enough, because it is 100% a customer service based. We are more about customer service than we are about fitness. And I don't say that the fitness isn't important, but people have to want to be here, because we call it, sanctuary, right? And we don't know what's going on in people's
Right.
day.
I think
It's 11:35 right now. Class ended an hour ago. There's probably you can hear them. 6
Yeah.
people downstairs still talking. I want people to want to hang
That's
out
very
here.
cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that you said perspective, because I think that's ultimately what life's about. And, you having that perspective every third day to potentially deal with people that might be having the worst day
Right.
of their life is, I think it's, and again, obviously I don't know, but it might even be like an ace in the hole sometimes, whenever you're like, oh, you think, oh, I only got 4 hours sleep or whatever, like, oh, I'm having a bad day. It's like, no, I just watched, something, if you're on the E squad and whatnot, like you're dealing with people having a heart attack or whatever, or deaths.
Their house burned down.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
I mean,
a big one, sure. But anyway, because we have firefighters, policemen and women at the gym, and we have people from all walks of life, and honestly, we have it pretty good, from a gym owner perspective. With we have to deal with the occasional complaint, and
stand in the heat all day.
But
all I'm trying to say, man, is just like that perspective of being able to, have a boss, be able to report to someone else, and you're not always your own boss, and work for someone else, and do your time, and deal with some things that the job requires that aren't always fun. I think that really it allows you to put yourself in your customer's shoes, which in turn allows you to really provide even a better product.
Yeah. I mean, doing what we do on the fire department, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do it. And I get frustrated. There are times when firemen, policemen, guys in the military kind of come back with this attitude like, you don't know how bad it is. You don't, you have nothing. And the whole point of our job is to keep people from knowing how bad that is. And so, the worst part of somebody's day might be that it's really hot in the gym, and they might complain about it. And I mean, that's where I've tried to kind of find that balance. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does, but sometimes I'm like, in my head, I'm screaming, you don't know how bad it could be, but also I've got another voice saying, you know what, it is hot in here. It does suck in here. And
there's a level of empathy you have to express.
Push and pull.
You have to be able to be relatable. I think that's hugely key, because again, especially from the fitness perspective of things, it's like we've all been doing this long enough to where it's like, if we just all went downstairs and say, all right, do a muscle up. All right, we're gonna do a muscle up. Do a handstand. All right, do a handstand. And it's on so many different levels. Sometimes it's tough to relate to a person who just physically can't do something.
Right.
But again, trying to meet people where they're at, whether it's fitness, whether it's in life, whether it's just showing some empathy for them through the day. It's like, I think just a perfect example is people showing up late to class. It's like, for example, when you got held up at the firehouse today, it's like, just the hell weren't you here on time? And it's like, well, I saved 3 lives today, or
not necessarily the case, but we'll
but I mean, it's like we had a lady come in the other day, just wouldn't even, not a scratch on her, and she's like, this happened to me, and just totaled her car.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole front end was smashed.
The whole front end smashed.
Steering wheel.
Wow.
And it's
was
just
crazy.
It's just one of those things. Like, you don't know it. It's like, if she shows up late, because she's the type of person that would just still come to the gym. I took the tow truck here, but it's like, why were you 5 minutes late? Well, here's the photo of the car I just wrecked. So you have no idea what people are going through in that day. And it is, I think it comes with age. I really do. I think as young trainers, it's really hard to have that perspective, because you just don't have perspective on life. But as you go through life and you have things happen to you, and you start to see like, oh wow, it's really hard to take care of 3 kids.
Yeah.
You should. Yeah. I totally get where you're coming from.
I think that's a lot of the job, too. And you probably, obviously, again, I don't pretend to understand what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, being a firefighter and, EMT and whatnot. And we're reading a book right now, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey, one of the better business books. And there's a little story they give in the book about this guy's on a train with 2 kids, and they're being really disruptive and loud, and the guy that's sitting beside him says, "Sir, your kids are being a little disruptive.
Like, are you going to do something about it?
Are you going to do something about it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do. We just got back from the hospital, and their mom died, and I don't think they're really taking it that well, and I'm not sure what to do." And it's being told from that perspective of the guy that told him, like, hey, do something about this. And he's like, in that moment, I never felt smaller.
Right.
Because, again, it's always that seeking to understand. So like you said, there's definitely moments where you're like, come on, like, this really isn't that bad, guys. Come on. It can be a heck of a lot worse. We're not, fighting a war or whatever the case may be. But in the same sense, having the perspective of, hey, this might be a person that's been baby their whole life, or this might be as hard as it's ever got for them.
Right.
So always seeking to understand, not just like, toughen up, kind of deal. So anyway, it's just, like I said, perspective is always big. Yeah, man, I would love to hear, like Jared was saying, about how maybe the firefighter transfer from 2004 not knowing CrossFit to obviously everyone's getting older as we go through life, and how fitness has been allowed you to maybe do your job at a high level and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's a good CrossFit's. I mean, it was originally designed for firefighters, police, military, that kind of thing. And I've been appreciative of it. I've never had a point in my career where I'm like, I'm just not physically capable of doing whatever we're tasked with doing. It kind of you get a little jaded because the departments don't have a lot of fitness training. There's there's none.
Yeah.
You go through the academy. There's some fitness training there, and then you're just kind of cut loose. And so you work really hard to bolster against whatever tasks you have to do or whatever. And I'm not saying the only reason I do CrossFit is to be better at doing my job, but it's a side benefit.
Sure.
And then there's times where you're working on a job and there's people who don't take it as seriously, and so it's good in the sense that there's more guys and girls on the department that take it more seriously than not, and it's a great way to be good at your job. Your body becomes a tool in your toolbox versus an obstacle.
Sure. Liability.
And,
Is there like one particular instance where you're like, this is a clear transfer from what we do inside a workout versus like this is very helpful in the gym?
There's a lot of kind of small times where you're like, you know what? Thank God I'm physically capable of doing this profession. Fighting fire is very physically taxing, but there's a lot of firemen on the scene, and so you're never redlined ever. But there are times when you've got to carry somebody who's sick or dying or whatever, and moving them from a third floor down switchback stairs, all that stuff. Like, you'll get down there and my core is just wrecked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, because I know I deadlift and I do all this other stuff.
Right.
I don't know how somebody else who doesn't practice that, who doesn't hedge against, this person I'd probably be tasked with holding half their body weight, so 150 pounds maybe.
Right. Yeah. Generally speaking, if they're very ill or dying, they're not like 100,
Tiny.
190 pounds,
Right.
180 pounds.
And so you get done with that and you're like, I'm wrecked. Like my core's wrecked. I'm just destroyed. I don't know how somebody who doesn't practice kind of hedging against that would even. But then you see it. Yeah. They're injured.
Yeah.
The injury rate is pretty high, especially back injuries.
I'll bet.
Yep.
Carrying things and moving things and lugging hoses and all sorts of stuff. I can't imagine.
There's a huge number of guys that just get hurt.
Yeah.
Do you find a lot of people ask for your advice, knowing like, hey, this guy owns a gym. Hey man, I noticed that we did this run or whatnot, and I was not feeling my best version of myself or whatever.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Firemen are all about free advice.
Okay.
Giving it and taking it.
Sure.
And
I know you're fitter than I am, but I'm gonna tell you how to do this.
Yeah.
Well, they'll show up.
Sure.
Like the first part of the day, they want to know. They want you to lay out an entire diet plan, an exercise regimen, and all that stuff. And you kind of go, well, how much time do you have?
Sure.
Like, let's dial this back and start with, do you even have a gym membership?
Right. Yeah.
Or do you even, are you still going to plan on drinking a 6-pack of Diet Coke today?
Sure.
There's, they want a whole plan.
Mark's got a good name for that. It's the Yosemite Sam's. Like, I'm gonna change everything right now.
Yeah. Well, they see you. They didn't have a plan to ask this stuff.
Yeah.
And you walk in and they're like, oh, hey, how do I get fit? And you're like, ooh, that's a really tough one to answer right now.
It's like, how do I get a supermodel?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because I can imagine that's, and I get those questions from time to time, friends and family and stuff like that, and it's just such a complex answer. Unfortunately, the answer is almost always it depends.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Well, again,
it depends.
it's understanding, like you said, hey, client X, like, what do you like? Have you ever tracked your food for a week?
Right.
You know, and I see here in 1 week you consume 20 adult beverages, 20 beers. All right, so
that was last weekend.
We just got back from Jared's bachelor party, so
Nice.
20 on
been sweating a
Saturday.
little bit. So, and you look, same things like that come up, but what's your regular, nutrition look like? And let's start there. And people don't want to start there. They want to start with, teach me how to do a muscle up.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, dude, you just need to even just cut that in half. Go from 20 beers to 10, and then hopefully to
you'd be in a
5.
good place.
Small, tiny,
I can't tell you how many
changes.
people start here that smoke, and it's just like, what do I need to do? Like, stop smoking.
Right.
Start with
Like
that.
this is not good for you.
Yeah.
Like I can't. Well, guess what? You want to be healthy or not? So it's just, I think it's answering some of those tough questions and getting to the root of it. And I would just imagine in that environment, especially whenever they see someone, that's just a specimen like yourself. But in all
That's how I
seriousness, you're
answer
built.
them.
Yeah. In all honesty, like, let's be honest, you're in a job that is physically demanding, and the majority of the country these days with technology is not. And you're probably seeing a lot of people come through your door at the gym that do sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, that have posture issues, that have low back issues without even lifting on a day-to-day basis. So, I think to flip the script to some of your clientele and whatnot, and how do you view maybe the state of CrossFit just in general right now, and where it's going, and what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis?
I think I was
Just fitness in general, I guess.
I was mentioning this earlier. I think the days of the hockey stick graph growth in CrossFit, I think those days are over.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The days of when you could open up a gym in the back of a lighter factory and somehow, some way, 8 years down the road, still have your doors open.
It's definitely peaked, and it's honestly on the decline now.
Yeah, and in some regards,
Yeah.
and you'll see a lot of gyms are diversifying their programming.
Sure.
They're offering barbell club.
Sure.
They're offering boot camps. They're offering nutrition stuff on completely separate of what the normal nutrition advice that they give. They're offering yoga, all kinds of different stuff.
Sure.
So people are they're seeing that one model should fit all, but not everybody fits into that model.
Yep.
And other people just don't like doing all the crazy stuff. Some people just want to throw a barbell. Some people don't want to touch a barbell.
Yep. And and you got to find what works best for you, and that's the upside and the downside to the model of the business is it's not a franchise. You can do whatever you want, but at the same time, you can do whatever you want. You can make
double-edged sword.
mistakes.
Exactly. There's not a laid out clear venue for it.
I think kind of our approach is like, generally speaking, people want options.
Yeah.
And I think CrossFit originally was that option that provided options, if that makes sense. You can do a short, you can do a long, you can do a medium, you can do a heavy, you can do a light. And now they want almost specialized options, because now that CrossFit is being more defined on a general, like a worldly almost sense. Like again, 2007, if you had asked someone like, what's CrossFit? You know what CrossFit is? But, hey, I don't
idea.
know. But now in 2018, people generally know kind of what's going on. So it's almost like, why do people, like move into a big city? It's like, oh, there's a lot of things going on. The small town, all I have is a movie theater.
Right.
Like, people don't just want to go to the movies; they want to, diversify.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of been our story with, obviously, our growth. I think this year hasn't really honestly been much in the CrossFit area. It's been a lot of the barbell, a lot of, we're adding yoga, we're doing nutrition type of events. And
you got Dupree starting back up at your gym,
He
right?
started a barbell club,
Yeah,
and it's been very well received.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
think people just like to learn new skills.
Yeah,
I think that's really
the
what it
other
comes down
thing.
to. I mean, it is a, we have a lot of people who are in it for the sport of it, but then the other half of them are just there because they want to learn more about the Olympic lifts, because it complements what they do in their whiteboard classes.
It's one thing that I try and impress on people that come to the door is, let's start thinking about CrossFit just being an accessory.
Sure.
Let's start thinking about the last sentence in the Fitness in 100 Words, regularly learn and play new sports.
Sure.
Let's, what's something that, other than competitive exercising, what's something that you enjoy doing?
We were talking about that today, and how it's almost like the competition side of it is imperative, because that's how you get better, but it's also the detriment of, I think, CrossFit. Because
there's a diminishing return.
Yeah.
It gets to a certain point where you're like, rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Stretch.
Move laterally once.
Yeah.
We don't do that in CrossFit.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not too much.
So I want to round things out. One thing that, for a while, you were doing Cupid Undie Run. Are you still heading that out?
I haven't done that for 5 years.
Okay, I didn't know if you were still doing it.
I did it for 4, and then this will be the 5th year that I haven't
done it.
I
know you guys do the grenade games every year. Is that still going to be your one big competition?
Yep.
Yeah. And you kind of went the opposite route as most gyms. You waited like 8 years before you had your first competition, right?
Yeah, it was. I'd been in business for 6 years, and I had zero intention on doing competition.
Yeah.
Simply because I don't. You kind of get in this mindset. You spend a lot of time in CrossFit. You kind of get rooted in your ways.
Yep.
And then you go to a competition, and everything grinds your gears. You're like, oh, the judging, oh, the movement, all the whatever.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go, well, if it can't be perfect, I don't want to do it. But then I have people in my life that are like, you need to kind of dial back your attitude. Like, you've got a great facility, you've got a great community. Let's show it off.
Sure.
And so I had some conversations with some people at the gym, and they said exactly that. And you need to kind of pull your head out of your ass and host just something. And so that all came out of we had a lot of the Glock games.
The Glamorous Ladies of CrossFit or something like that.
Wonderfully named.
Yeah.
But we had some women that went to do that, and these were some of my more experienced athletes who were strong, but they were missing 1 or 2 tools. And I thought, so how can I have a competition where those people can be the centerpiece, as opposed to, well, we'll let you tag along and do the scaled version of whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, how can I kind of clean up the things that I don't like about certain competitions? And a lot of times, just being a CrossFit coach for so long, you start to hammer on the judging.
Yeah.
And the worst tactic you can take is to blame the judges. Those people are volunteers.
Right.
Yep.
They literally shouldn't expect anything other than to keep count.
Right.
And so we try to develop a competition that's all you need to do. Either the tire gets flipped or it doesn't. There's no range of motion for that.
Right.
We took pull-ups out of it.
Yeah.
We took a lot of the barbell stuff out of it just to make it was kind
and
of
guess what? It's still CrossFit.
Yeah. You pull in some of that obstacle course racing stuff into the gym, build it like a CrossFit workout, and people still enjoy it. And
guess what? That's your niche. You know, like, and not that someone won't copy that eventually, but it's like you have a very unique space, and it's really hard to duplicate that unless you're renting out a facility to do so. You know, so.
And people who CrossFit every day are the ones that succeed the most, but we have every year we have a couple of teams that they've never set foot into a CrossFit gym. They do it, and they're always top 10, top 5.
That's great.
And just because
if you're fit, you're fit.
Yeah. Regardless of how you get there.
Exactly. That's pretty cool, man. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to, like I said, watch the process and watch your gym grow. And I see you guys pop up all the time on my Facebook feed and stuff like that. So, and it's just been fun knowing you in general. So, we've in the past, again, we've always asked that one question. We changed it. We finally changed it, but it's a very simple question, and it's what is your definition of success?
I think to be successful, you kind of have to know. You have to know and define your goals, and we talk about that all the time. Like if I have goals, not just me telling myself, but I need to express that, because there's power in telling people and being held accountable. But if I'm setting these goals and I may not be there, but if I'm taking the steps to reach my goals, I would consider that a pretty successful life led, where you're happy, you're healthy, you've got good people around you, and you're taking the steps to do the things to make you happier and healthier. I think you're a pretty successful individual.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I love it, man.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I appreciate you being on today. And what's your guys' webpage?
CFOTR.co.
.co.
Yeah.
All right. You guys on Instagram?
We are CrossFit OTR.
CrossFit OTR.
CrossFit OTR.
Fantastic. Thank you all for listening to Triumph Every Day. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and everywhere your favorite podcasts are found. You can find us at TriumphStrength.net, on Instagram at Triumph Strength, and Facebook at Facebook.com/Triumph Strength. Thanks again. Check us out next week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man.
And,
Thanks a lot.
Check Justin out. Thanks, guys.
Cool.